We're live
We're
right
live
here.
now.
So far we're among the living now. Who knows how long?
So far.
So who knows how long that'll last? But So all right, hold on. I'm going to get this over here. Over here. Over here and over here. Let's go and get this show shared everywhere. Make people pay attention to what's going on here. Boom, boom, pow. Okay, we got it going. All right, welcome to Abnormal Alabama, myhaunteddogs.com. And I am Kelsey, and this flute playing, twerking guy over there is Kevin. Yeah, it's confusing, don't it? Welcome aboard, everybody, for another abnormal night here on a Tuesday night. And we are, we're going to wake up pretty soon. We'll have done this show for 3 years.
Yeah.
We're rocking and rolling.
You can probably say that in another 6 months, I guess.
Easily, because it's already August. It's already the 8th month of the year.
The 8th month of the year.
And I'll be glad when it gets, even though to me, Halloween is every night. I'll be glad when the weather catches up with Halloween. How's that?
Yeah, me too.
I don't care for this hot, sweltering weather. But anyway, so we got a really big show tonight. We're going to talk about ghost games, spooky games, paranormal games that can lead to bad things. And and believe it or not, there's a lot more to it than just Ouija boards. Everybody gets on the Ouija board kick. It's like, nah, there's a lot of stuff out there. And I think later in the show, we're going to add to the list of things to talk about. We're going to talk about, can ghosts really hurt you? And then Kevin is an expert on this subject because I'm going to prod him to talk about how to effectively deal with spirits without getting yourself in a bad shape. I think Kevin is the one that can deal with it.
I don't know if everybody would agree with my beliefs and methods, but yeah, I can tell.
Well, I didn't say anybody believed what you say, but the bottom line is any man that lives with a house full of haunted items, not just haunted dogs, but and he claims to have not had any bad effects from all these haunted items, and he's been ghost hunting probably all over the Southeast anyway, and he's a little bit of an expert. Well, I should say, physically speaking, he's a very big expert.
A very big expert, huh?
He's a big expert.
What kind of big expert are we talking about?
Well, I mean, you and I both have eaten a few cakes in our lifetime.
Oh, we're talking about the big fat kind. I can't help it that I love burritos and pizza and chocolate cake and donuts.
Oh, chocolate cake with ice cream. How's that?
Yeah, I love chocolate ice cream. I love.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite. My favorite chocolate.
Most Bluebell ice cream is my friend.
Yeah. and you know what? And this time of year, that ice cream is especially good.
Yes, ice cream. You scream. We all scream for ice cream.
Yeah, tomato. We all.
And I love how Bluebell does it with if you get the cobbler kind, got the chunks of cobbler crust in there.
Yeah.
Or if you get the s'mores, it's got the marshmallow and nuts and graham cracker in there. Not nuts. Nuts is the Rocky Road. S'mores has the marshmallows and graham cracker things.
I grew up with the marshmallow thing. I'm just not a big fan of marshmallows. I've sat there. We put them on the stick and stuck it in the fire, and all that stuff. But I don't know. I just kind of grew up not being a big fan of s'mores and marshmallows.
I like roasting weenies.
Well, I do. I like the outside of my hot dogs to be crisp and burnt. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So it doesn't pay for Kevin and I to get together much because we get fatter.
We get fatter. We
Fitter and
get
fatter.
fatter.
We don't get fitter. We get fatter. Yeah. So anyway, Kevin had the wonderful idea, and I want to make sure that I give Kevin credit because I would say a good 70 or 80% of the shows we do, he's the one that comes up with the ideas and the stories and whatnot. I'm just kind of here blabbing, and he does all the work. So
Did he just admit that? Let me see.
yeah. Well, I pick on you relentlessly, and people have to understand. This is this is entertainment, guys. This is the Laurel and Hardy show.
The Laurel and Hardy show.
Yeah, I don't know which one he is, but
I say Abbott and Costello, and I'm Lou Costello. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have our fan club here yet. We don't have Billy Bug, we don't have the girl. What happened with these people?
I don't know. They just
slacking on a Tuesday.
I guess they had better things to do, or so they thought.
Well, let me tell you what, they are wrong because there's nothing better than being with us on a Tuesday night. It's just 2 hours, folks. Come on, maybe they'll pop up here a little bit.
Just 2 hours.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us, you and I. All right. So, yes, you call my name.
Just call your name.
I don't know. Every time I show up, people say, "Oh Lord," and then a lot of them say, "Jesus Christ."
I bet some say, "Ah, shit."
Nah, that wouldn't talk that way around me. Jeez. All right, so we have, I'm sure, and Kevin and I probably came up with some of the same paranormal ghost games out there. There's a lot of them, and we will go through this. And to me, a lot of people that do ghost hunting, it is a game to them. It's not serious. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, as much as I can't stand that, yeah, that does happen.
Yeah,
quite often.
Well, and so to start this show off, this really big show, I had a story I wanted to share that popped up here, and now I can't find it. Yeah, it just popped up in the last couple of days up in Buffalo, New York, and it's not the first time I've heard this, but I'm going to read this story from the news article, and it's not very lengthy, but it's very serious because people are not taking what they're doing seriously. So listen to this story, and then we'll talk about this before we get into other games that people play. So a ghost hunter was injured in a fall at the Central Terminal on Saturday night. Did you hear about this, Kevin?
No, I have not heard it yet.
Buffalo police said two individuals, a man and a woman, were ghost hunting without permission at the terminal where the 35-year-old Kenmore woman fell through a substation roof near the back of the property. She fell 15 to 20 feet. Ferry Fillmore district officers and other emergency personnel responded to a rescue call just after 10:30 p.m. The woman was transported by ambulance to Erie County Medical Center, where she was treated for multiple injuries. The man with her was not injured, police said. Police said no charges have been filed in the incident. The Central Terminal has drawn the attention of ghost hunters for authorized listeners for the Ghost Hunters TV series, once broadcast a 6-hour live program from the former train station, and the nonprofit which runs the building has hosted ghost tours. So, first of all, the ones that get injured are technically trespassing. Am I reading that right?
Yep.
And
that's what it sounds like.
This is not the first time we've had something like this happen over the course of time. And this is because people are not taking it seriously. It is a game for them. And there you go. You can, and I have known too, also, people can get arrested. They can get a criminal charge placed on them. And which if that's not bad enough, they can also get physically hurt. And believe it or not, guess what? There were no ghosts involved in that incident. It was stepping in the wrong place. So you're in a building, and people love these abandoned buildings, especially ghost hunters. It sets the stage, if you will, for the ghost hunting game, I'll call it. And so you go in late at night, and you got flashlights, and there's no electricity in these buildings, and you can get a nail through the foot. You can trip and fall, and like this lady, you can fall through a freaking roof. And 15 to 20 feet is a heck of a fall. She could have killed herself with that. So that's the first warning I want to put out there about playing ghost hunting games, because they take it to a level, and clearly you cannot even begin to call yourself professional if that's the way you're doing it. And Kevin, I think, can speak loudly on this subject.
Oh yeah, I've always maintained that if you go into one of these places looking for trouble, most likely you will find it, or it will find you, and you probably will not like it when it finds you.
And it's not going to be paranormal trouble, is it?
Not always. Sometimes you might piss off of something dark, or you might, you might
quit picking on black people.
That's nothing to do with black people. How about spirits, ghosties, boogers?
Boogers. But by the way, Kevin and I do take this very seriously, but this is an entertainment show, informative and entertaining and fun. And we like to have fun. We like to laugh. And the one thing, and I'm gonna give Kevin a big head tonight because I keep blowing him up here. But the wonderful thing about Kevin is he can laugh at situations. He can laugh at himself. He's so congenial with his presence that I think that really affects how ghosts and spirits respond to him. Would you agree that?
Without sounding like I got an ego, I guess I have to, especially when I get all these haunted dolls and things that are sent out to me, and these people say all the. Huh?
Did you see his head swell? You got to back away from your camera.
and they tell stories, and in some cases show evidence of issues they've had with all that just racket and causing problems and noises and this and that. And then they get here, and then I might have, a few days of little bumps and things, and then it just dies down because they say I'm not gonna, put up with it.
Yeah. Well, you are very steadfast. You're very firm in your convictions and that sort of thing, and and you're also very non-judgmental. On that note, before we get into the rest of this, what we're going to do tonight, interesting part of this conversation. If we're out ghost hunting, if we go to abandoned building and we already know that it's a popular place for ghost hunters, and they say that at this bar or this place that at 1:15 every morning, this lady in white appears. Would you say that at most of these kind of places, that's residual energy instead of a true haunting?
Where it's just she appears each time, and that sounds like more like a residual than.
Because to me, if you and I are talking together, right?
Yeah.
Your belief is that when you die, your spirit's going to go off to another realm. Is that true?
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, okay. And that's a common belief, okay? So the reality is this body we're in is just a vessel.
Yep.
Okay? So technically speaking, you're talking to my spirit right now. You're having spirit communications. See? Wouldn't that be true? The only thing is that instead of needing an EVP or a spirit box, I'm able to use this vessel to communicate with you. Does that sound reasonable?
Kind of like a computer chip in a robot, you know. It
Yeah.
can use the robot, and without the robot, you might have to use a computer to talk to it.
Yeah. So, and then on the other end of it, when you get to the residual energy, that's something that's burned into this space and time, like burned into a CD or something. So my what I'm trying to get at there is that these residual energy things that we see going on, and I think you find most of those at these so-called haunted places. And I don't think that residual energy is going to ever harm you because it's just a repetitious thing that happens over and over at a certain time. So I don't personally call those really true hauntings. To me, a haunting is going to be something where you are engaged with this spirit. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
So anyway,
I would say so.
Yeah. So because if you are a spirit, you die, Kevin dies, and all of a sudden he immediately loses 320 pounds. He's lighter than that carcass. And he's no longer bound by the law of physics.
Nope.
Okay, because he's in a totally different realm.
So no physics, no gravity, no.
That's it. So what that means is like you don't have to go anywhere to try to communicate with the ghost of Kevin. You can be anywhere. You don't have to go to a location. Now you can make fun of that Huff, Steve Huff and Huff Paranormal, but he's made his entire YouTube career talking to Michael Jackson and all these other people without leaving home.
The same day they die.
Yeah. He's on it, man. But throughout history, these mediums that talk to the dead, they would go to somebody's living room. And, you know, it had nothing to, you see what I'm saying? So I don't think that you have to go any particular place. I can sit here now and it's like, okay, let's be quiet, meditate. All right. I want to talk to Al Capone. Al Capone, are you out there anywhere? Where did you bury that money? But, oh God, what was that? So that would be one of these ghost games that could get you in trouble. So what's your first story there, Kevin?
Oh, some of these people probably have heard of before. And in fact, one of these I was about to share because I talked about a lot, and there's even a little Hulu show made about it. But yeah, some of these are going to be familiar, and some you may not have ever heard of before. Some of them I've never heard of before. Yeah, it's not, you know, like we mentioned Bloody Mary last week, and that's, you know, everybody knows about or most everybody that had lived under a rock knows about the Bloody Mary game.
Bloody Mary. Oh, Bloody Mary.
And this first one here you may have heard of, called Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board. Have you heard of that one?
No, I haven't heard of it.
You haven't heard? Oh, it's a game of levitation.
Well, you got to understand that in my youth, when you would normally play games, okay? I was in the super fundamentalist. We didn't mess with that stuff. You understand? If you think that you're paranoid of the Ouija board, we didn't dare get close to anything like Bloody Mary or Halloween. You know, we were of that ilk, if you will.
You stayed away from mirrors and candles and black cats. And
I did not learn about Bloody Mary until much later in life.
Oh,
a lot of people grew up with that, you know.
Yeah, well, I think I would say that might have started in the 60s or 70s.
Well, I would have been in the
as
60s.
Far as the game.
Yeah. So I'm sorry I interrupted you, but
yeah. Well, that's okay. So levitation. Levitation is one of the oldest tricks in a magician's playbook. And everybody knows that it's just an optical illusion. Or is it? There's no way to actually levitate something, or is there? Give this group activity a try and see if it doesn't change your mind. In case anybody thinks it hasn't heard of levitation, that's when you cause someone or something to float into the air on its own.
And you can be pretty much assured that Kevin and I are not going to levitate.
It's going to take a lot of concentration to lift my 234 pounds.
Is that all you weigh?
Okay, yeah, 234. Well, see, I'm only 5'9", so
it's kind
of squished down.
Yeah, so you're the same height I am.
So here's the game. Have one of your friends lie on the floor while 4 or 5 people kneel around him or her, with each of you placing just 2 fingers from each hand under their body. The group chants, light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. And then attempts to lift that person into the air. It won't work the first time, but by your second attempt, you'll discover, much to everyone's shock and awe, that they easily drift upwards, almost like you're nudging up a balloon.
Wow.
Why does it work? Some explain it with physics. An average person's body mass spread out over 5 people is actually no heavier to lift per person than a bag of groceries. And some claim it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. Others believe that perhaps by chanting light as a feather, stiff as a board, it helps to bring spirits forward to help lift that body into the air. So whatever the reason, we have no idea what's going on, but it gives us a shiver every time.
So
light as a feather, stiff as a board.
I have heard of the elevator game.
No.
Which involves riding an empty elevator in a specific sequence of floors that said it will open up into an alternate universe where forces will try to trap you and keep you from going back to your world. Yeah, it's probably a crock of bullshit, but there are, and I think they've done some fictional shows about that very subject, where no matter what floor number you push, you end up going to hell, down a basement and that sort of thing. So, that reminds me of that Asian girl out in California. Remember this story?
Yes, Lisa Lam. I was just thinking that. That kind of spurred up the elevator game subject.
Yeah. So tell that story real quick for those who haven't heard it.
Well, there was this young girl who visited the Cecil Hotel, young Asian girl, Lisa Lam. When was this? 2012, 14, maybe a little later than that. I can't remember the year now.
I'd say it's at least a decade old, yeah.
Okay. And so she was visiting there, and some people who were there staying there, I don't think they were friends of her, but she had roomed with them. I guess they were so packed in the hotel that they had to combine people in rooms, and she was sharing a room with these other students. I think she was an exchange student, if I'm not mistaken. She came from Japan, and they talked about it later as she started acting a little weird, and they kind of made a complaint, so the hotel put Elisa in her own room, and then it wasn't long after that she disappeared. About a week went by, her family hadn't heard from her. They don't get a response from her phone. They call the hotel. The hotel says, well, she just checked out without saying anything. And she even or we couldn't find her belongings. She didn't leave anything. So we assumed she checked out. Well, nobody's heard from her. There's no charges to her credit card accounts, any of that. I don't know. I think 2 weeks went by, and then the guests at the hotel started complaining of a weird taste in the water and a weird smell. And it looked discolored when they would take a shower.
Oh, God.
So a maintenance man went up to the water tank. There's 2 or 3 water tanks up on the roof. He went up there to check it, and that's when they found Elisa's body in one of the tanks and her belongings. Her body was naked.
Yeah. And the interesting thing, if I remember correctly, is that those tanks were not accessible. You had to have a key or something to get into them.
Yeah. Only the people who worked there had a key, and if you did try to bust through the door, there was an alarm that went off. They would know. They would get a signal downstairs. So no alarms were tripped. Nobody had. The door was locked when the maintenance man went up there, and it would be really hard. They said for her to get up into that tank on her own. But yeah, there she is, and her belongings are in there too.
Well, this tied in. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was going to say it tied in. What happened was they started checking hotel security cameras, and the last footage they got of Elisa, she was coming back from somewhere that last night she was heard of. It was kind of late. There was nobody really around out there in the hotel, and you see her on the camera get in the elevator, and she's punching buttons, and she's hiding in the corner of the elevator and kind of peeking out the door like somebody's after her. And then she kind of steps out there and looks, and she gets back in. She starts punching all these buttons, and nothing happens. And then she goes back out, and looks like she's talking to somebody. And then she walks away, and that's when the elevator door finally shuts, and then it opens, and then it shuts, and then it opens.
So they even with their surveillance thing, they could not find how she got to the roof. But wait a minute, Kevin, get your flute out. Say hi to Billy Bird.
I see Billy Bird. I want to say Billy Bob every time. Billy Bob Bodine.
Billy Bird. All right. How you doing, Billy Bird? Thank you for joining us tonight. So, Kevin.
Yes.
Do you have a coin?
Not on me. All my coins are across the house.
Oh, man, you need a coin for this.
I need a coin.
Right, because we're supposed to sit across from each other, each having a coin.
I don't have a coin
and
in here.
We flip the coin. But right before we flip the coin, we say, Sarah Sarita, may we join your game? Then we toss our coins. If we both get heads, the answer is yes. If we both get tails, the answer is no.
Oh.
If we get opposite sides, it's a maybe, and we'll need to ask again.
Oh.
Once Sarah Sarita agrees to let us play this game, we can ask Sarah Sarita any question you have. And then when you're done playing, you'll need to exit the game and flip your coins once again. So if you want to speak to Sarah Sarita and get some answers to your questions, have a coin.
Oh.
That's look at that. Billy Bird sent you a kiss.
But that was for you.
Oh, yeah, I'll take any kiss I can get. All right, so moving right along. It's 7:27 p.m. on a Tuesday night here in Central Alabama, Central Daylight Time. Am I correct? Did Governor Ivey actually sign a bill that we don't change our clocks in the state anymore?
She signed it, but then it's got to go through Congress, they said, and I hadn't heard anything since about that.
Well, we know how Congress works, so whatever. So we're talking about games and that people play and sometimes get in trouble playing. And what is the next game that Kevin's going to talk about?
Oh, so this one I've got is called the picture game. If you've got some rope, a pair of scissors, a bunch of small mirrors, an empty glass, and something boozy to fill it, and an old school flash camera phones won't do the job in this game. You've got all the supplies to capture a real ghost on film and partake in one of the best scary games. Well, maybe. It depends on how much you're willing to suspend your disbelief. Here's how it works. Make a circle on the floor with the rope and put the glass in the middle, filling it with a little bit of alcohol. Ooh, that sounds fun. Everybody sits around the circle holding one of the tiny mirrors with the reflective part pointing towards the ceiling. I trust you. Well, let's see. I skipped a part. With the lights out, everybody closes their eyes and says, I trust you. And then chants in unison, the door is open. Please come in. Pass around the camera, and everyone has 3 turns taking a picture in the dark while saying, I caught you out loud. At no point should anyone enter the circle made by the rope. And that's it. Will you catch a glimpse of a ghost in one of those pictures? We're not telling. You'll just have to try it and find out.
Yes. Good evening, crazy girl.
Good evening.
Good evening, crazy girl.
Good evening over there.
Thank you for joining us for our abnormal show. So, have you ever played the Sandman game?
I've heard that. And I've seen a movie about the Sandman, but
well, this is a game that you'll learn just how twisted your friends are. So I already know my friends are twisted. They wouldn't be my friends otherwise. So one of you lays on the ground face down, and then another person will be the speaker and describe in detail how you were murdered and filled with sand. And they go into as much detail as they can while the others gently rub your legs and arms. And this goes on not for a super long time, but for a few minutes. And what's going to happen is when you stand up, you'll feel like your body is full of sand.
Oh.
So we got to try that sometime.
Oh,
let's see how you're murdered and make you feel like you're full of sand.
Oh. Sand, like sands in the hourglass. I got one of those up here.
Mr. Sandman. Oh, I thought, wait a minute, he's about to twerk. He's about to twerk.
I'm not.
He's going to twerk. Look, he's twerking.
I messed my light up. I'm not twerking.
Oh, that's no good. You sure?
That crap.
What?
Come on, light.
What'd you do?
I messed my light up.
Would you tear it up? See, this is what happened when you play these ghostly games.
There we go. Yeah, it's back up there. Yeah. I was just trying to get my hourglass, the sands of time.
The sands of time. Did you get your life straight?
Yeah, I hope I don't fall over.
Okay. So
time is running out.
Ooh. Oh, okay. So this crazy girl and Billy Bird is here. Let me do something for their pleasure.
Okay.
I will do something for their pleasure right now. Okay.
Fix my light. Yeah, you probably gonna play that thing, aren't you?
Play what thing? Play what thing?
That twerking thing.
Oh, that now. I'm glad you reminded me. You live as
oh no.
you wish.
I wish.
Okay. So crazy girl said you need to do a little twerking, Kevin.
No, just play the video. This ain't that kind of show.
It is. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, before the show ends, Kevin is going to do his Miley Cyrus impersonation. Party like it's what's her song? Party what?
Party in the USA.
Yeah. Oh, he knows it. Come on, let's go.
Because they play on Magic 96 all the time.
Just Kevin, come on. Go ahead, stand up. Stand up.
I'm not singing Miley Cyrus. And do you really want me wiggling my big fat butt?
Absolutely.
You got some strange interest over there.
Has he ever claimed to be normal?
I would think my flute playing would be better than
but I think
my big old rock
twerking while you play the flute, that's got to rock.
Oh gosh. I don't. I'm not. I'm too big to do. I'm too fat to do twerking.
Oh no! You'll bust it, baby.
I'll bust my pants. Yeah.
What's that other song? Let's see about big butts.
I
like
like
big
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 butts.
butt,
I can't
I
like
cannot
that.
lie. The murder can deny. When
That's a crazy girl.
Lord, why do you want me wiggling my big old butt? Yeah, Lord, why do you want me wiggling my big old butt? Yeah, Lord, why do you want me wiggling my big old butt? Yeah, Lord. Am I that fucking nasal when I talk?
Hold on.
Yeah. I'm gonna start talking like this. Whoa. That's how I sounded when I was talking. God.
That's
See,
got to be. It's got
why
to
is
be
it
one of
when
my favorite videos.
hear yourself on playback, it never sounds like when you hear, like right now when I'm talking, I don't sound like that right now to me.
You're
The people out there on
your nose.
YouTube are probably.
You're speaking through your nose.
I'm going to stop that now. There we go.
You have to speak through your diaphragm.
My diaphragm. Then I sound like a phony.
Well, that's par for the course.
I sound like a big phony now.
Well, you
I
got
probably still sound nasal.
Lord. So what happened here? Man, I just lost this. 1 second. So you have what's the next game you got there?
Well, and Billy Bird mentioned it. He said I only played Bloody Mary. Well, that's on here. We talked about it a little last week. A popular dare you to do it game at sleepovers. This is another one that involves conjuring spirits. But this time, you're doing it alone.
Ooh.
You lock yourself inside a bathroom with all the lights out except for a single candle. Then you stare into the mirror and chant Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary 13 times. Or maybe it's just 3 times, or possibly 100 times. There are numerous different variations, and nobody seems to agree on the exact number. So just start saying Bloody Mary and wait for a ghost to appear in the mirror. Whose ghost? None other than Queen Mary the First, the only child of King Henry VIII. So why her exactly? As the story goes, the famously melancholy queen suffered from pseudocyesis, or phantom pregnancy, and was never able to produce an heir for the crown. So she haunts bathrooms for eternity and waits for people to say her name in the dark.
In the dark.
Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary. So, I just got a private message here. They want to know if you can take your pants off and put a garter on your legs so they give you some tips. So they can slip you some $1 bills while you twerk.
And I'd like to know, can they just take that idea, fold it in 4 corners, and shove it? Their time is now running out.
Oh, the time. There's the hourglass. Oh no, that could be a deadly scenario.
I'm gonna send a ghost to wherever they are.
So, did you know that even fortune telling is considered a game, like with tarot cards or palm reading? Just because they're common modes of telling the future, if you happen to believe in such thing, it doesn't mean it's still not scary. Obviously, someone among the group should know how to read palms so that it makes up your lifeline with that paper cut you're currently sporting. Tracing as far back as the 15th century Europe, early versions of tarot cards were called tarocchini in Italy, tarot in France, and some other big word in Australia. And they weren't quite used the way we think of the cards now. In fact, the earliest reference of tarot cards being used as a fortune-telling device was in the 1750s with the Tarot Bolognese, a 62-card deck found in Bologna. And what about the Answer Man? You ever heard of the Answer Man?
Yeah, I've heard that a long time ago.
So it said that if you're big fans of the scary games that involve having other people around, there's something to be said about safety in numbers. So as a bonus, this game is pretty simple. You need a group of 10 people, including yourself, standing in a circle with phones in your hand, and everyone gets the number of the other person to the left and enters it into their phone. Then at the same time, everyone hits send. Most people will come up with a busy signal, but the hope or fear is that someone will get the answer man. You can ask him questions, but he gets to ask you one for every question that you ask him. And if he doesn't like your answer, bad things will happen to you. So that's the answer man. What's this here? What's this?
What's what? Oh, I was looking at something else.
Oh, super
Oh,
chat.
she's
Yeah.
talking about that. You said somebody chatted you. Private
Yeah.
message.
Well, do you know what super chat is on YouTube?
I know the chat, but
Okay, here we go. What's the reason, Billy Bird? I want to know now that you threw that out there. What's he talking about? What's up? Oh, the garter. Okay. Do you have a garter? Can you borrow one from one of your dogs?
Oh my God, I don't have a garter.
You can make some money, Kevin.
I don't want to make money. I don't want to make money that way.
As you're twerking, they'll throw money at you like to do strippers.
This is not freaking Charlie's Go-Go. This is
I know. It's Kevin's. It's Kevin's a go-go.
I know it's not a go-go.
Kevin's a go-go.
It's a no-no. It's a nay-nay.
Wait,
I say nay-nay.
Right. So what's your next story? Nay. What's your next story, Nay?
Let's see. Did you talk about? Well, here's the one about the Ouija board.
Oh, we all know about the Ouija board. The original name before Milton Bradley came out with the Ouija board is they were just called spirit boards, and there were different designs of them. And so anyway, go ahead. Everybody's scared of the Ouija board. What about you guys, Billy Bird, Crazy Girl? Are y'all scared of the Ouija board? Kevin, he's scared to death of the Ouija board.
I'm not scared to death. I just choose not to.
You can have a picture of a Ouija board on a card, and he'll say,
"Oh." Only when this little bald guy over here holds one up, because that just doubles the EV of it.
Oh, look at what your girlfriend said.
No, you so do not need to send me a tutu and garter.
You sure?
I am a man's man. I don't wear tutus. I don't wear garters.
Here you go, right there.
I'm not. I'm not that right there. No.
Well, no, you don't have facial hair.
Even without, I'm still not. Even if I did, I'm still not. That is just ugly.
Ugly.
We want to build an audience, not run it off.
I don't mess around with the other side. Welcome again, folks. We're at 7:43, 45 coming up here in a moment, and we're talking about games that people play that are you don't really want to play them, huh?
So the story of the Ouija board, it says, is one of the oldest scary games out there. A perfect spooky evening for anyone who doesn't just want to talk to ghosts, but also get some advice. It's kind of like Dear Abby, but with dead people. The Ouija board is a board covered in letters and numbers and a clear planchette or pointer, a small piece of wood or metal that's used to spell out messages. But the trick is, it's not you doing the spelling. Two players put their fingers on the planchette and then start asking questions to no one in particular. If a nearby spirit hears you and feels like responding, your hands will mysteriously gravitate across the board until an answer appears. It sounds innocuous enough. The game can't be that bad if you can buy it at a toy store. But there are some crazy stories out there. And they're not from giggly teenagers trying to freak each other out on a weekend sleepover. They're from sane, entirely believable adults who used a Ouija board and ended up with way more than they bargained for. So be careful about using one. Use it wisely. Know what you're doing. Read the rules.
It's in the rules.
Or your time will run out.
So let's play Three Kings. Now, Three Kings is a solitary game, or maybe it's not. It's said to transport players into another dimension and offer clarity on their past and present. Some people claim to have had lucid conversations with themselves. Of course, that's not creepy at all, right? So here's what you do. You set up two mirrors across from each other. You sit in a chair, what you call the throne, between the two, making sure that you're not looking into the mirror. And you hold a lit candle in your hand, but make sure not to lick the flame or to let it go out. Now, you're representing the king, and the other mirrors represent a queen and a fool. And without knowing which is which, the ritual can begin at exactly 3:30 a.m. and you must begin asking questions into the darkness. And if it all goes correctly, there'll be an answer from one of the two mirrors. But since one is the fool and the other the queen, you have to take the answers with a grain of salt. So that's called the King's Game. I've never heard of some of these. But now I'm probably going to find me a couple of mirrors and sit on the floor in the living room and play the King's Game. Okay, Kevin, quit scratching your butt.
I'm not scratching my butt. Why you gotta bring attention to me over here just scratching my side right there? My butt is not back here on my shoulder blades.
Do you have fleas?
No, I don't have fleas.
Your cat brought some ticks in there?
No, she has been properly dipped.
Dipped? Oh, you're chewing on her like you do.
No, the flea dip. I got a really creepy game coming up in a minute, but first we've got one from Japan called the Fortune Game.
Japanese.
This Japanese fortune-telling game, the original name, if I can pronounce it right, Suji Yura, is ancient folklore that's been practiced for centuries. All that's needed is an ordinary comb, something to conceal your face, and a crossroads, an intersection of two or more roads. There's just something creepy and mystical about an intersection of two or more roads. I never noticed that. And it's not just the fact that it's included in practically every legend wherein a person makes a deal with the devil. Don't worry, you're not meeting any demons in this game, or at least we don't think so. You start by walking out to the crossroads just after dark, either alone or with a friend. Stand near the center and make the comb speak by running your fingers across the teeth. Then repeat the three lines, Suji Yura, grant me a true response.
Suji Yura, grant me a true response.
Then you conceal your face and then wait and wait and wait until someone approaches.
And wait.
If nobody comes or you're approached by a friend or someone you know, your request has been denied by the spirit realm.
I can't believe it.
But if a stranger walks over without revealing your identity, politely ask them to tell you your fortune. Listen quietly, and when they've finished and have disappeared back into the night, walk home with your newfound knowledge. Did you get good news or horrifying news? Who exactly was this stranger? A dead relative? or some messenger from the beyond.
Mm,
The mysteries are exactly what makes this game so enthralling.
enthralling. So, have you ever, and you see this pop up once in a while on Facebook, if you were able to get this information, would you want to know when and how you're going to die?
I've heard of apps that do that.
So, would you like me to tell you when you're going to die?
Nah, I like the mystery.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Is your spirit leaving your body?
I don't think so.
Uh,
Although I did try the app out and it said I'm going to live to 74.
Well, at my age, that wouldn't be far from now.
Oh.
So let's see. Did we play the midnight game yet?
Yeah, I talked about that one
We
earlier.
played the
About
midnight game already.
let's see. Midnight game.
We just did the Japanese game.
Or actually, I may not have done the midnight game
I don't
yet.
think you did the midnight game.
No, I must have missed that accidentally.
Well, it's believed to be an old pagan ritual, which that would fit Kevin real good. Used to punish people. It's the pagan's hell, I guess. The gist of the game is you have to summon the midnight man and walk around your house while making sure you don't get caught by him. If you manage to avoid the midnight man until 3:33 a.m., that's 3:33 a.m., then you've won the game. It seems easy, right? People who played this game swear that one should never play it because some have experienced hallucinations and a few were even left with permanent mental scars. That's the midnight game. So who here would like to play the midnight game tonight?
Oh.
You've got to keep on the move till 3:33 a.m. or else you could be mentally and emotionally scarred for life.
Oh.
What about the hooded? Have we done the hooded man yet?
No, not yet.
This one requires you to perform a cleansing ritual prior to starting the game, like burning sage or spreading salt on your front door. At night, go to a room with a telephone. That's anymore. You can tell how old this game is, right? Go to a room with a telephone. Right. Nowadays, it's got go to a room without a telephone. There are detailed online instructions you might find, but basically, call for a cab. Well, now it's Uber, right? If you have succeeded, you'll see a black cab parked outside your home. Exit your house. Climb into the cab or Uber's empty back seat, lock the door, and go to sleep. If you awaken and your watch reads 3:30 a.m., then you'll find yourself falling asleep again. But once awake, the cab will be on a very unfamiliar highway, and the hooded man will be behind the wheel. If you want to end your ride, just lean closer toward the hooded man's ear and whisper, "I've reached my destination." Then you'll fall asleep and wake up in your house, after which you'll have to go to the telephone, dial a number, and say, "Thank you for the ride." So there's the hooded man. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up very close to the 8 o'clock hour here, and Kevin needs to promote a book or two that he's written. Probably plagiarized his books. But that's
I did not plagiarize my books. You. I did not plagiarize my beautiful, wonderful books.
So tell these wonderful people. You guys, it's wonderful that you join us every Tuesday night. But what will really be really super wonderful is if you buy a book.
Yes, buy a book.
And if you guys have any, Kevin and I are always looking for a place to go and make some films, like we did the little child's grave, little house, dollhouse grave, where he got.
Yeah.
We got a very, very real activity that no one else has gotten there. And that's because Kevin is such a calm, cool guy. And these spirits say, I'm going to come to Kevin because he's calm and cool.
I'm so calm, so cool.
So calmly tell them about your books.
Okay, I'm missing one of my book covers out here. I was going to try to pull up.
And
Well, I guess not.
don't forget to tell them about your podcast and your EVP sessions and all that.
Okay. Well, here, I'll throw Crimson, the Blood Painting, a novel based on a haunted painting that hangs right here in my home. That came from Salem, Massachusetts. I started to say Winston-Salem, but that's North Carolina. Salem, Massachusetts. And so that's just one of a few novels I've got out there based on some of the haunted items in my collection. And I had more pictures of my covers last week. I don't know what happened to them. They were on here. Now they're gone.
It was
Somebody ate them.
It was the Midnight Man.
So the Midnight Man ate them. But and I have nonfiction books. My Haunted Collection, The Dark Side.
Is that your latest book?
Yeah, this is the last one that got published, and that's a sequel to the first book. Is called My Haunted Collection, which tells about the original items that started my collection and the stories behind those. This one, My Haunted Collection, The Dark Side, tells about the scarier items that are in my collection. And you can find these at myhauntedDolls.com. There it is in big letters there. You can't miss that. So go out there and get yours autographed today. I've got all my books out there and a link to my podcast where I post episodes of me telling my favorite scary and ghostly stories on Podbean. It's called The Haunted Collection with your host, writer, paranormal investigator, and haunted collector, Kevin Kane. And I don't sound nasal on that recording. I think it's this StreamYard. It doesn't.
No, I've been in the car with you.
Ain't you funny?
So now my turn. Is it my turn? Wait a minute. You didn't talk about your podcast and all that stuff.
I just said the podcast, and then my YouTube channel, My Haunted Dolls, which some viewers are already tuning in from.
So I thought every other Friday night or so you're doing a spirit box.
Yeah, I've done live feeds this summer, and then I've posted some good one-on-one sessions that I pre-record and then go back and put together the video.
And don't forget, he also does some dead feeds too.
And I got that crazy whistle this last week.
Yeah, you did.
Last Saturday at the Haunted Woods of Camolga Mills. And so that's out there. That's my newest one. There's my haunted mannequin baby from the channel, the travel channel. My little TV star. And there I'm holding my most recent book.
And down below, you'll see the wishdr.com, and that is for the wishing machine. And just to give you just a tiny bit of insight as to what people are saying, here is one of my early purchasers of one of the wishing machines. Hi, Dr. Kelsey. I love you so much. Whatever your intention is, the machine magnifies it by 1,000 times. I have never experienced anything like this in my life. It is a supernatural experience. It's so amazing. I'm speechless. Words cannot express how grateful I am to you. God led me to you so that you would create this magical wish machine for me. No one knows about my machine but my sister, but I keep my intentions to myself. No one knows but me. The machine sends my subconscious thoughts to the universe. The subconscious mind is the prover. Thank you very much. I love you. So go to thewishdr.com and you can learn all about the wishing machine. I now build 3 different models. That one there is called the vampire machine. It's all explained. It's all explained on the website. The one that I've got on my bench right now that I'm finishing up to be mailed out is called a Trinity machine. And it includes not only the vampire machine, but it also includes a tepaphone. If you don't know what a tepaphone is, you have to go to my website and check it out. TheWhishneyR.com. It is now, folks, right at the 8 o'clock hour. We're going into our second hour. Oh, the big show. I guess.
Second hour.
There you go. The hour clock has been turned upside down. And that works because we're upside down.
I didn't know that. I was right side up.
So I've got one other thing. I wrote a book called The Dating the Dead. You've got to get a copy of it. You can go to datingthedead.com and you can purchase your book there. Or you can go to amazon.com. Dating the Dead. Interesting, fascinating stories. I did not make any of this up. I just shared pre-existing stories. And Kevin can talk all about dating the dead because if it wasn't for the dead, he'd have no dates. Okay.
He's just so funny.
Well, who am I to talk, right? But there you go, folks. That is what's up in our world here, and it is now 8 o'clock, and we're into the second hour of the most abnormal 2 hours you'll ever come across in your life. Or maybe
never get that back either.
maybe even the most abnormal 2 hours in your death.
Oh, and you ain't getting these 2 hours back. So once you've watched,
it's gone. It's gone forever.
There are no refunds. No
refunds. We do not do dress rehearsals. We get naked to do our rehearsals.
Oh, no, I'll get naked.
So I just said one about the hooded man. So what have you got for us, Mr.
I got one that's creepy as hell. And anybody out there like me who's done a lot in the world of haunted dolls, you may have already come across this. This is called, man, this is creepy. This is called Hide and Seek Alone.
Ooh.
Or in some places, it's called Hide and Go Kill. Ooh, but Hide and Go Seek Alone. Once again, the wonderful Japanese came up with this game. It is a famous game in Japan and Korea, originating from Japan, where you let a spirit or demon possess a doll and then play a game of hide and seek with them. The game is necromancy. It is potentially very dangerous, and it is not good for your sanity. Oh,
yeah.
Do not try this game just because you're curious or want to experience it yourself. This is a very dangerous, life-risking game. Note, it's best to put your pets outside of your home.
Your pants? What?
Your pets, P-E-T-S.
Oh, okay.
Leave your pants on, for God's sake, but your pets, it's best to put them outside of your house. There have been reports of dogs barking and cats hissing at nothing. Some even reported their pets behaving strangely after the game. So the tools you'll need for this: a stuffed doll with limbs, not a human doll, as there's a huge chance the spirit will not leave. If you have an animal doll with limbs, it can be used as well, like a teddy bear, for example. You need rice, like the food rice. That is enough to be used as stuffing instead of cotton for your doll. The rice is said to attract the doll. I don't know why. You need something from your body, usually fingernails, for the doll to represent you. This means that if you do something to the doll, the same thing will happen to yourself, kind of like a voodoo doll. Never use someone else's body parts.
Come on. That's no fun.
This results in the doll replacing that person instead, and the game will not work correctly. Then you need a sharp-edged object. This just gets better and better. To anger the spirit in the doll by stabbing it. Be sure not to use knife or scissors, as the doll will possibly stab you with it after it finds you. So use a pencil instead, or a needle. It's recommended to use a wooden toothpick as well. You need some red thread to sew up the hole you made in the doll to put the rice in. This later symbolizes blood vessels and acts as a restraint later in the game. You need salt water or salt. This will be used later in the game to get rid of the spirit in the doll. A bathtub with water. If your home does not have a bathtub, then a basin large enough to put the doll in with water in the bathroom works too. Just don't use a toilet bowl. Because that's really going to piss somebody off. A very safe, lastly, you need a very safe sanctuary or hiding spot. When it is the doll's turn to find you, if you have a room with statues and things related to your religion, it is recommended to make it as your hiding spot. So if you got crucifixes or whatever you use. All right, so starting the ritual. Give your stuffed doll a name, for example, Fluffy or Rover. Cut the bear or doll open and take all of its stuffing out. Put the rice in the bear or doll, as well as the part of your body, the fingernails or whatever you use. Sew the doll back again with the red thread and wrap the remaining red string around the whole doll. This is important as it binds the spirit. Prepare the bath or large basin by filling it with water and then wait until 3 a.m. sharp. Some versions say that you do not have to wait until 3 a.m., but this is up to you. Remember to turn off all lights in the house, but leave only the television on. It will change depending on the location of the doll. Once it's 3 a.m., take the doll along with you to the bathroom and repeat, first tagger is, fill in the blank with your name, 3 times sternly while closing your eyes. Then place the doll in the bath. Walk away to another room, but do not look back. You may see the spirit possessing the doll if you do. If said spirit makes eye contact or notices you looking at it, it may come after you. Count slowly from 1 to 10. After that, turn around and proceed back to the doll. Go close to the doll in the bath and say, I found you, fill in the blank with the name you gave the doll, and then stab the doll with your weapon. After that, close your eyes and repeat, now, doll name is it. Repeat that 3 times. Leave the object inside the doll, then pour some salt water into your mouth. Do not drink the salt water, as it protects you from the spirit in the doll, and you will need the remaining salt water to end the ritual. Bring along the cup of salt water and go to your hiding place. It is recommended to keep your doors and windows unlocked in case you unexpectedly run into some troubles, and your friends will be able to help you if they are outside your home. It is recommended to have a cell phone on silent mode and brightness on the lowest level in case of emergencies. Keep the salt water in your mouth at all times. Never attempt to swallow it. Remain silent when you are hiding, as any sounds from you will alert the doll where you are. If the doll finds you, it will stab you with the object that you stabbed it with, then possibly possess you as well. Keep salt water near at all times. Ending the ritual is very important, as this will end the game as well. To end the ritual, get out of your hiding spot, find the doll, which may not be in the bathroom anymore, And then drink the salt water. Pour the remaining salt water around the doll in a circle as well. Close your eyes and shout out, "I win," 3 times. The spirit in the doll will give up and the game ends. That's in big letters, you must dispose of the doll by burying it with salt. Otherwise, the spirit will attempt to re-enter the doll. Some versions say to put salt in every corner of your house after you bury the doll, especially where the doll has been found, as salt drives away most malevolent spirits. And now we have some warnings about this game. Warnings. Do not play this game for more than 2 hours. The spirit inside the doll will be extremely difficult to remove the longer you play. Messing around with spirits is very dangerous, so play the game at your own risk. Nobody will be responsible for your own death as you risk your life to play the game. Do not turn around when heading to your hiding place. You might see something very disturbing behind you. Do not play when someone else is in the house. You must be alone to play the game because the other person might be unintentionally found instead and might get hurt. Do not play with more than one person. It needs to be one person and one person only, because there's a great chance that one of the people that are playing could get possessed. The game can be played at 3 a.m. sharp. 3 a.m. is the time when spirits are the most free to move around. However, some versions say you do not need to wait until that time, that 12 a.m. is just fine. Do not turn on the lights while playing this game. Only leave your television on. Do not fall asleep no matter how tired, exhausted, or sleepy you are while hiding. The doll will eventually find you and possess your body, as the meaning of this play is, if you find me, you can have my body. So don't go to sleep or they'll have your body. Do not attempt to leave the house while the game is still going on.
And nobody wants my body.
Do not attempt to leave the house while the game is still going on. Unless you want to end the ritual and the doll is not in the house, the doll will find you. Do not play this game if you get frightened easily or have a very weak heart. This game is life-threatening and very terrifying to most people who have played it. Better still, don't play this game at all. Do not give the doll your name or the name of one of your acquaintances. You or your acquaintance can be the victim of a curse. And lastly, messing around with rituals like this is dangerous. They are serious rituals, not games. If you make a single mistake, then expect to meet a nasty end. You have been warned. Well, that is the hide and seek alone game, or hide and go kill.
Now, talk about curses. The Titanic is cursed to this day. Did you hear what happened up in Gatlinburg and Dollywood area up there?
No, I haven't heard. Well, you're talking about the museum where they have the Titanic artifacts?
Yeah.
I've heard it's haunted, but I don't know.
Well, yesterday or over the weekend, I forget which, but the Titanic museum or whatever it is up there, they've got this big iceberg display up there.
Yeah.
It fell and injured a bunch of people.
Oh, timber.
Don't be mocking Titanic. You will pay the price. So have you heard or have you talked about or heard a game called Charlie Charlie?
Yes, I've heard that.
Okay. I'm going to let you tell that if you've got it. Because I'm going to tell one I'm going to tell one that's south of the border.
Okay.
El Juego del Libro Rojo is the name of this game. And clearly it's Spanish. And in English, that would be, the Red Book? Is that it? Yeah, the Red Book. And the Red Book game. So in Espanol, that's El Juego del Libro Rojo. It is popular in South America. Now, be warned, information doesn't always come free, as you learn just from talking to listen to Kevin, right? And as always, well, here we go. Players, you need at least two to participate in this game. What's required? You need a book. The book must be hardcover, and the cover of the book must be red, rojo. There should be no pictures in the book, no photographs or other images. It should be just all words and words only. You need at least one candle, and the candle also must be red. And of course, you need matches or a lighter. You need a very quiet room, and you must have a question. So here's the instructions. You go into your quiet room, you draw the curtains and turn off the lights. You sit in a circle with the other participants. You place the candle in the middle of the circle and light. And you can have more than one candle, they just all have to be red. You then close your eyes. You place the palm of your hand on the red book's cover. And you ask the following question out loud. Red book, may I enter your game? Keep your eyes closed. Then open the book to a random page and place your finger on a random spot on that page. Then you open your eyes and you read the sentence your finger has landed on. And this is your answer. Although you must interpret it correctly to proceed. If the answer is negative or nonsensical, contact has not been made. Do not proceed, but try again. If the answer is positive, you then may proceed. Each player must ask for and receive permission to enter the game. So, the rising action. Close your eyes, place your palm on the book's cover, ask your question, speak it aloud. Keep your eyes closed, open the book to a random page, place your finger on a random spot on the page. Then open your eyes, read the sentence that your fingers landed on. That is your answer, whatever you interpret it to mean. Then pass the book around. Each player who wishes to ask a question must close their eyes, must place their palm on the hand of their hand on the book's cover, and must ask that question out loud, and then open the book to a random page and place their finger on a random spot of the page. And the sentence that the finger lands on will always be the answer to the question, although the interpretation is it's up to the askers themselves. So when all the questions have been asked and answered, close your eyes and place your palm on the book once more and ask aloud, red book, may I leave your game? Keep your eyes closed. Open the book to a random page. Place your finger on a random spot of the page. And again, open your eyes, read the sentence your fingers landed on, and that is your answer. But again, if the answer is negative or nonsensical, you do not have permission to leave. You have to try again. But if the answer is positive, you, of course, may leave. Each player must ask for and receive permission to leave the game, just like they had to ask permission to enter the game. When all permissions have been acquired, close the book, extinguish the candles, open the curtains, and lastly, turn on the lights. There's no specific starting time. The room should be as dark as possible without the candles lit. So it's advisable to begin late at night. No questions are officially off limits. However, it's not advisable to ask anything that might anger your correspondent. It's also not advisable to ask about your own death. So I'll ask about Kevin's. When will Kevin die? Some things are better left unknown.
None of your business.
But I think we all need to know when Kevin's going to die. Do not begin asking questions or leave the game without asking. You've got to get permission. It would be unwise, very unwise to do it otherwise. So that, my friends, is the Red Book game, as it's pronounced in English or interpreted in English. In Spanish, if you have some Hispanic friends, you tell them that you want to play El Juego del Libro Rojo, and they'll know what you're talking about. So now we're at
Ooh.
8:20, and I am sure that my friend Kevin has some more stories to tell.
The Charlie.
Oh, you got the Charlie?
Yes.
Charlie.
Charlie. All right. Charlie is a game or internet urban legend that of sudden and inexplicable popularity that surged to the top of the global social media charts several years ago. And as of this writing, I'm talking about this Washington Post article, hashtag Charlie Challenge has been tweeted more than 1.6 million times. More people are Googling Charlie than virtually any other news event. So how do you play Charlie? What is this? Well, the game consists of a piece of paper and two pencils, basically, like that. And what you're going to do is on the piece of paper, you do it long ways, horizontal, and you draw kind of like one single tic-tac-toe thing there. And you lay the pencils on the grid like so. And then get your camera rolling on it in case something happens. You can film it, put it on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. And this is only, you write in the grids, yes, like if you got it this way, well, this is the only way you can do it. You have yes, and then no. And then you say, Charlie, are you there? And you ask a question. It has to be yes or no because you've only got yes or no answers. So like, is my friend going to die soon? Or am I going to the prom this year? So forth. Is Kelsey Grammer going to my nerves? And supposedly, when you ask the question, the pencil will either slide to the yes grids like that or to the no grids. And some people have gotten film of this showing the pencils moving allegedly by themselves. Of course, you never know. But you never know what's going to happen. So where did this come from? It's hard to pin down an exact country of origin. Charlie has a long history as a schoolyard game in the Spanish-speaking world. According to one 7-year-old interviewed in Spain, kids have played a version of this classic game in that country for generations. Traditionally, this version with the crossed pencils was called Juego de la Lapicera, a term that still turns up a lot of creepy stuff on Google. And Charlie was a distinct game played with colored pencils. At some point in their internet and playground travels, the two games seem to have merged. In either case, both have always had demonic or supernatural connotations. One site calls Lapicera the poor man's Ouija board. So Charlie is like the poor man's Ouija board. And it's hard to say exactly why these things trend, but the last bubble seems to have begun in the Dominican province of Hato Mayor when a local TV news station broadcast a very alarmist and unintentionally funny report about the satanic game overtaking local schools. From there, social media users in the Dominican Republic began tweeting, Instagramming, and vining about the game. And by middle of the year, the phrase Charlie was trending on Dominican Twitter, an easy jump away from the rest of Spanish language web. So, and then they slapped a hashtag on it, and it's hashtag Charlie Challenge, which is still floating around out there today. So who is Charlie? Various corners of the Spanish-speaking internet say he's either a child who committed suicide or the victim of a fatal car accident or a pagan Mexican deity who now convenes with the Christian devil. The Mexican deity bit, at least, is demonstratively untrue because there's no demon called Charlie in Mexico. But I will say there's a certain movie that came out, I think, in 2014 that's really got the Charlie thing going. And that was a movie called The Gallows. It's a found footage movie about these kids that break into a high school theater to trash a set for a play called The Gallows. And the theater is supposedly haunted by a young teen actor named Charlie who died, I think, 10 15 years. No, he died about 20 years before. No, 10 or 15 years before. He died in a performance of the gallows when they were doing the scene with the gallows and he had the rope on his neck. The trap underneath actually fell open when it wasn't supposed to, and he was actually hung right there during the performance. So from that night on, people claim his ghost haunted the theater. And it was bad luck to perform the gallows after that. But 15 years later, they're bringing it back, and these kids break in to see if they can scare up Charlie. And one by one, they're dispatched by some sort of mysterious hooded entity. And it seems like the trailer for that movie was promoting the Charlie game in a lot of areas. So that got the interest going back then again with it. And for a while, all you heard about was Charlie. So that's the Charlie story.
Charlie story. So now we are at 8:25. We're almost down to our last 30 minutes. And what I wanted to encourage Kevin to enlighten us with is a couple of different subjects that are very near and dear. Do you have another story?
Can I tell one more little scary game?
Por favor.
Just this one last one. It's called It's called the Cat Scratch Scary Game.
That sounds like a song. Cat Fever.
Cat Scratch Scary Game. Maybe I should try this with my cat. If it works.
Say that 3 times in a row real fast.
Cat Scratch Scary Game. Cat Scratch. If it works, and many people swear that it does, this is one of the scary games that will leave you confused and petrified for weeks.
Ooh.
There's not much to it. You just lie on your back on the floor with your head resting on a friend's lap, a very special friend, with your head in your friend's lap. And then your friend recites one of 2 stories involving a cat, all while gently rubbing your temples. They're long stories. These are long stories and include creepy lines like, there once was an old lady who owned a cat, or the cat was very nice. It meowed and purred. One day the cat got hit by a car and died. When your friend is finished with the story, stand up and pull up your shirt. If this ghoulish ritual worked correctly, your back should be covered in red claw marks. How this happens is anybody's guess. Did the stories awaken some cat ghost who managed to slip under you and scratch your back without you feeling a thing? What exactly do dead cats have against stories about cats? And why did it scratch you and not the jerk telling the story? It's a lot to ponder and will definitely keep you up at night. So you don't need an actual living cat with you for that game, like I thought. I'd never heard of that game before, so that's my first time reading about it.
So Billy Bird said echo. Who's got the echo there? Billy Bird?
I didn't hear an echo.
I didn't either.
I think Billy Bird's got the echo.
Billy Bird got the echo. So there you go. So now, 8:27, and so Kevin's got several years of paranormal research under his belt. Several, and I've got a few decades of paranormal stuff going back to my early days. And I didn't even call it paranormal research. It was just interest in the spirit realm and so forth. So this was, I really started looking into this long before it became a popular thing, if you know what I'm saying. Didn't drop my life to do it, but I was always curious. There's always stories. In my church days, my early years, teen years, back in the 60s and whatnot, there were always stories floating around the church of somebody that had gone like to a flea market or to a yard sale and purchased some item that ended up being cursed or possessed. And they would try to get rid of it. They would take and they'd throw it in the garbage. They would keep coming back to them. They'd even try to burn it and it wouldn't burn. You've heard those kind of stories, I assume, Kevin?
Uh-huh.
And so I grew up with those stories. In fact, in those years in church, they would encourage the ladies never to buy a human hair wig. If you want to buy a wig, make sure it was synthetic, because might be getting away from a witch. And this was a real thing back then. So all that stuff was going on, and all kind of interesting stories being told, dealing with this subject matter. The question that always comes to mind, and I've seen TV shows, I've never personally witnessed, there's claims that are made that people have been harmed by spirit. I question that. But Kevin has some experiences that he might be better qualified because I just haven't run across those cases. Kevin, what do you think? Can a spirit actually physically harm you?
I personally don't think a ghost, a human spirit can. I believe that a demon can, or some sort of dark entity, but a human spirit, I don't think has the power to be able to do that. Now they can be angry and not like you being in their house, but I don't think they can physically hurt you. There's probably a lot of people disagree with me on that.
Mhm. Well, I mean, to me, like we had talked before, if the belief is true, what you and most people believe is that when we die, our spirit leaves this vessel. So technically, we're already spirits. We're just inhabiting these vessels. So when we leave these vessels, we're leaving a physical world and entering into this spirit realm, which, as we talked about before, you're not bound by the laws of physics and gravity and all those things. You are now in a whole different realm. So if I can walk through a wall, then what? How can I harm you? Because I can reach out and try to grab you, and my hand's just going to go through you. So I have to kind of agree with you on that.
Thank you, Billy Bird, for the echo, I guess. I don't
So go ahead, Kevin. Give me some more thoughts on this subject.
Well, I have come across a couple of times. I've come across an instance where I think it was something demonic was harming a family. One was a guy that was trying to be an amateur ghost hunter over here, not far from Birmingham. And he was out in the graveyard messing around. Apparently, he ticked something off because it followed him home. So he thought he got rid of it himself, but he kept having activity. His wife was getting scratched. His daughter was getting her hair pulled. They had to move out of the house, and he stayed there. And he called our team out. We came out, and I didn't feel the heavy, nausea making that I usually feel around demonic, but something was kind of off about that place. And one of our sensitives kept walking by this mirror at the end of the hallway, and she got a funny feeling from it. And she felt like that might be where the spirit was coming in and out of. Maybe we found its portal, if you will. And so we took that out of the house. Well, first of all, we sat there in the living room and watched the hallway. We were at the other end of the hall from the mirror. And on camera, we could see, like a little shadow go back and forth down there at the end of the hall. So to test out our theory, we took the mirror out to the front porch, which has a big window in the living room facing out on the porch. We put the mirror out there and shut the door, and then it wasn't long, we started seeing that shadow going back and forth past the window. So we said, yeah, I think, whatever it is using that mirror. So he had me take it away, and I blessed it, prayed over it, and sprayed some holy water on it, because I come from a religious background, and so I did a lot of heavy prayer on it, and that seemed to take care of it. That was mild compared to another incident I had that our team, probably the most intense one we've had that I've seen, was over here not far from Calera. A family had moved into a house that they were renting. They'd probably been there a couple of months, and their little daughter, who was about 9 at the time, kept coming in the room at night saying that how does she refer to it? The scary gingerbread man kept coming out of her closet and scaring her. Well, they thought she was having a nightmare. So, but this kept going on until one night she came in running in screaming that the scary gingerbread man had set the closet on fire. Well, her father had enough. He goes storming in there and turns her light on. He's going to show her the closet and say, you know, everything's okay. But to his surprise, when he opened the door, the clothes were shoved aside, and there was this big old fat handprint burned into the wall in the back of the closet. And we've seen that. It was freaky. So we did our own investigation, and I felt like something there was hiding from us. We picked up on some other positive spirits that I think were protecting the little girl. But something was dark in that house. I could tell, you know, I kept getting a creepy feeling about the attic, but the owner would not let us go up there. She said it was too dangerous. Well, we do a little blessing with some sage and everything around the house before we leave. Next morning, she calls up our team leader, hysterical, that her daughter woke up with 3 scratch marks up her side, and she took a picture of it and sent it to us. So that kind of pissed us off. We like, something really bad is in this house messing with this little girl. So that's when we called in our priest friend, and he came in and brought a couple of priests for backup. And they went in that house, and they blessed every inch with holy water, oil, everything they could bring in. Each one had a crucifix, and they're going around. And as they are, we've got a camera up in that empty attic, and you can see stuff getting thrown in front of that attic, and there's nobody up there. I can see there's nobody up there. So I'm just amazed, you know. It's like you see the stuff on TV, but when you see it for yourself in real life, it makes a believer out of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they went up there and they charged it to leave the house in the name of Christ and so forth. And this gust of cold wind came down the stairs from the attic. And I was down there toward the bottom of the stairs, and I felt it blow past me, and it went toward the front door. And they did a final blessing around the house, and the mother came in, and she was just blown away. She said, "This house feels so much lighter now." She's walking around, and she said, I'm feeling more comfortable than I have in weeks. And the little girl stopped seeing the scary gingerbread man. There was no other problem. We kept in touch with them over the weeks, but we did some research on that house and found out that the owner had kicked out the people who lived there prior were kicked out. It was a couple of college kids. And after they were kicked out, the owner found some relics up in the attic, like some black candles and things that looked like they had been dabbling with some black magic up there in the attic. So we wonder if maybe they were screwing around with something they shouldn't have and conjured up something. So there's my demon story right there.
There's a demon story. I want to share a demon story or demons story.
Oh.
I don't want anybody to be offended by this. I was out in Oklahoma for a few days. And while I was out there, I wanted to go to church. So I found this full gospel church. I don't know if you've ever been to a full gospel church or not.
I've heard of them.
Yeah. And so I thought, okay, it was near where I was staying, and it was convenient time and whatnot. And I just wanted to go to church. So I went, and if you've been around demonic activity, believe me, even the Bible says that Satan will keep presenting himself as an angel of light, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can go to what presents itself as a church that not really what they presenting. You know what I'm saying? You could feel, or at least I could, the flutter of these demons in the air within that church. I had to leave. It's like you could hear it and feel it. It was not angelic activity. It was very negative energy, and it's like you were surrounded by a bunch of invisible birds. It was this is like broad daylight. It had nothing to do with spooky time or anything like that, but it was I can remember, this is going back like to the late 70s, 1970s, and I can still remember, I could still hear that fluttering. It was like that entire sanctuary was full of this evil spirit type thing. I'll never forget that. And you knew it was not good because you could just tell what you're feeling in the air and those sounds of like wings fluttering all around you is like, I got to get out of here.
Mhm.
You know. So what I keep telling people is just because something presents itself to you in a positive way does not mean it's a positive thing.
Yeah.
And anybody, and I mean, the first of all, if you believe in evil spirits, if you believe in the devil, you believe in all that stuff, and I'm not promoting either way, but if you do, you've got to keep in mind that if the car salesman can con you, certainly a spirit can too. You know,
Yeah. That's why you
so
gotta be careful.
and just
Take it with a
because,
grain of salt.
yeah, and you've got to use more senses than just your ears and eyes. You've got to really feel the presence around you. And sometimes it takes time. It don't present itself immediately. You sometimes you got to be like when I went to that church. It wasn't like I just walked in and thought, "Oh, I got to leave immediately." No, it was during the service that this all of a sudden happened. It just swarmed it through the atmosphere, and it's like this is not good. This is not good at all. And believe me, I've been in a lot of sanctuaries. That's the only time that ever happened in a church with me. And it was very, I can still, you could feel it. And it's just like fluttering wings, nothing visual you could see, but you could feel it and you could hear like, it was really weird. I left. It's like, hope I didn't take anything home with me. Yeah. So again, just because something presents itself to you in a certain way, you don't always buy it on appearance sake. Don't judge a book by its cover. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And if people can do it to you, just keep in mind in the spirit realm, it can happen a lot deeper and a lot greater because they're not, it's a lot easier for them than it is a human.
Yep.
So we are now at 8:41, and we have talked about all these games that people play. That I think that we're going to have to start playing some of these games, Kevin. I like the idea of you laying face down on the floor and we talking about how you got murdered and we're going to fill your body full of sand. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
That was called, that was called the Sandman, wasn't it? Yeah, that's the Sandman.
Yeah, the Sandman.
So, any of you guys that's listening here, did you have your favorite game that you heard us talk about tonight? Join us in the conversation, people. Wake up. Or Billy Bird, did you fall asleep over there? Did you get bored with us and drift off? So, what should we talk about next week? I wish these guys would give us some suggestions too, right?
Yeah, that would help.
I honestly think they fell asleep. Wake up!
Should I tell another? There's another scary game thing here, and I'm gonna wake them up.
Yeah, there you go. Make sure you really get into it, Kevin. Get real intent and get rid of your nasal voice to get real deep. Dark. Okay, if you don't do that, I'm gonna play the Turk video.
The triple mirror game.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna take a quick break here. I'll be right back.
Okay. The triple mirror game. One thing's for sure, if you want to make contact with ghosts, you're gonna need to invest in some mirrors. For this game, you need no less than 3 mirrors, as well as a big white candle. Nothing scented. Ghosts are repulsed. They're repulsed by eucalyptus and spearmint odors, so refrain from those. Light the candle and put it on the floor. Then arrange the mirrors around the room so that they reflect the image of the door from one mirror to the other. This takes a lot of meticulous tilting and adjusting until you finally get it right, but it's supposedly worth the effort for when you get a glimpse of some bona fide ghosts and spirits that have been inhabiting your room. You'll only see them in the 3rd mirror for some reason, and sometimes only in flashes. I don't know about you, but that's enough for us to pack bags and book it to the nearest garden inn. Oh, here's another one called the shoebox telephone. It's like getting a phone call from dead people, but without any of the long distance charges. Here's what you do. Write a letter to somebody who's passed away with a very specific question for them. Don't be vague. A question like, how you doing, isn't going to impress any ghost. Next, run a string between 2 cups and put one of the cups inside a shoebox. Then place the shoebox or the phone for whatever ghost you're trying to contact in a dark closet. And that's it. It's time to go to bed and wait for the call. You won't actually hear the phone ringing. According to legend, you'll have a dream in which a phone is ringing, which frankly should be enough to wake you up. When that happens, get out of bed and without turning on any lights, go find the closet. Sit down next to the cup whose string should be leading into the closed closet door and pick it up. Put the cup to your ear and listen. At this point, you'll either hear nothing, in which case your experiment failed and it's time to go back to bed, or you'll hear the voice of somebody who has left this mortal coil, in which case you can either sit and listen to what they have to say, or drop the cup and just start running and screaming. So that was the shoebox telephone game.
Crazy girl is still there. Woke her up.
We got she's still there.
Well, folks, what's your favorite game, Crazy Girl? Which one of these games would you like to play?
Anyone? Bueller. My favorite, I don't know. I mean,
I like the Hispanic, the Red Book game. That sounds interesting. And the Sandman. I like the Sandman. Those two are that I remember distinctly.
I thought the hide and seek alone game was terrifying.
And you like terrifying stuff.
And what's that? Well, that one I just told about the shoebox phone. That sounded kind of creepy.
Like
it's kind of easy. It's easy yet creepy because some of these you have to have a lot of stuff.
So I have noticed this in your book writing that it seems like now your books are getting darker and darker and
darker.
Is there a reason for you getting darker and darker?
No, I didn't know they were getting darker and darker. Because
I mean, really, they're getting scarier and more spookier. Really.
I never noticed that. I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, plot in the scheme.
Maybe I'm just trying to outdo myself each time with the scare factor.
You're an outdoer, aren't you?
Got to keep it interesting.
Well, you should.
People keep buying them, dadgummit. Get out there and buy the books, people.
Get our books. Buy our books.
Go to myhauntedolls.com right there.
And go to thewishdr.com and go to datingthedead.com and buy a book. They're not that expensive.
Yeah, buy a book. Not that expensive.
And if you, really, you should have our Dating the Dead. So there's even, if you like Bigfoot, there's a story about a lady that had sex with Bigfoot in there.
Oh.
And there's a guy in there that's got a red car, and he has, I understand there's more uses for that tailpipe than just a car.
Ow.
But I'll let him tell that story in my book.
Now, the question on my mind, is there going to be a sequel called Marrying the Dead?
Well, the reality is, in dating the dead, there are stories of those that married the dead. So I've told my story a few times or a couple of times on here that got my brain ticking on this subject years ago when the girl, entertainer, singer songwriter out of St. Louis, um, wanted me to marry her to the ghost of Freddie Mercury.
Yes.
And I told her, I said, I thought Freddie Mercury was gay. She said, no, he's bisexual. So that was an interesting story. Really, I'll tell you what, I dealt with her for a period of time, never met her in person. Never met her in person.
And
But being with her on the phone, I got high blood pressure from that stuff. I mean,
now I'm gonna have a whole different view every time I hear Freddie Mercury sing "Who Wants to Live Forever." Who wants to live forever?
Well, I would believe it or not, I talked to his ghost on the phone. I talked to Janis Joplin's ghost on the phone, and Kurt Cobain, is that his name, on the phone? And
Yeah.
trying to remember who else. There's, I'm tired. Jimi Hendrix, yeah, they were calling me. So wait a minute, crazy girl, right here. She wouldn't mind the Charlie game.
Oh yeah, I've never tried that because I thought it was just BS. So, but people have filmed stuff on and put it on YouTube. But how do you know if they're not manipulating something and faking it or?
Well, anything's possible, but it'd be fun trying. Could we do Charlie on like on Zoom or something?
Yeah, man. You got a camera pointed toward the piece of paper with the pencil's laying on it and see if it'll move.
We could do that.
Yeah.
So maybe next week we could do Charlie right here. Would you like to do that?
Yeah, we could try that. See what happens.
Charlie.
And if you haven't seen the movie The Gallows, I recommend it. It was pretty freaky for a found footage movie.
How old is that?
I think it was 2014 when that came out. So it's out there on Prime Video and YouTube, Amazon, and there's a sequel called The Gallows Act 2, but that's not near as good. It's out there on Hulu, I think.
Oh, excuse me.
It gets out of the found footage and tries to do a different movie, but
where's the next adventure we could take on a Saturday?
I don't know. We can. I thought of one other day. We'd always go visit the face on the courthouse window in Carrollton.
I thought you'd been there before.
Yeah, a long time ago. I wouldn't mind going back.
Okay. So that's not too. What is that? An hour or so away?
From here it's like an hour and a half, something like an hour and 45.
Okay, we could do that. We'll probably run across stuff on the way there.
Yeah, you'll go through from here. You'll go through Tuscaloosa to get there. So, well, I've been to the Drish House, but if you ever want to go there, that's open for events. But they let people come in and walk around if they're open.
What about Moundville? You ever done anything in Moundville?
I have not been to Moundville yet.
I understand it's supposed to be some activity because that is, a burial ground, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They have built a nice. I've done a wedding out there before. They've built a nice, beautiful building out there, kind of a museum and all this stuff out there now too. So, and you drive around. The mounds are pretty big mounds out there. So. They don't want you going out there with a pick or a shovel or anything.
I guess not.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like Gettysburg. You can go out on the battlefield, but they don't want you digging stuff up. They sell stuff, though, in the gift shops there, old bullets and things.
You've been to Oklahoma.
I haven't been there yet.
No. Well, that's not too far away, just the other side of Selma. And if you go to Selma, then you've got to go to the Live Oak Cemetery.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting cemetery to go to.
Yeah, it's a beautiful cemetery. I've been by there, but haven't actually walked into it. I've seen it when I drive by.
Yeah, and Alabama's highest elected official is buried there in a little mausoleum. William Rufus DeVane King, who was our 13th vice president. and the highest elected official from Alabama. He named Selma. Um, and I've had some ghostly experiences over the years out in Oklahoma. If anybody's interested, Oklahoma used to be a state capital location before it moved to Montgomery, and it is now like a ghost town. There's a remnants, bricks laying around there of what used to be an old Civil War prison. There's an old slave quarter, and then you go way back in the woods over there in the far reaches of this place, and you run across the slave cemetery. And there's an interesting story about the missing keys. And the missing keys, one of the guys that worked out there, his keys came up missing, and they were ultimately found on the grave of one of the slaves out there where he had never been. So there's some interesting stories out there as well. There's all kind of interesting things to do without even going that far from home. I've spent the night at Sloss. I wasn't too impressed with Sloss. I've done a lot of weddings out there too.
I've had good stuff happen in Sloss,
but I did find out, because I've done so many weddings out there, that Slag story was totally made up. Never was a real thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of other ghost things there. Slag, well, yeah, that I think was made up for that frack furnace thing they did every Halloween. And, but there are actual stories out there. And
well, the biggest experience I had was a homeless drunk.
Yeah, well, that's why I didn't see none of the ghost that I was drunk. He ain't gonna see us.
Well, he was invisible.
But I've gotten strange pictures out there. One, a face showed up over the catwalk, and outside before the sun went down, there was a blurry image. One of my pictures showed up blurry, and I did not delete it because I wanted to examine it. I'm glad I didn't, because I got it home, and there you see what looks like a man in coveralls peeking out from behind a pipe outside there.
How long has it been since you've been out there?
Well, they stopped letting people come in and investigate them. We used to conduct public investigations there with our group, but gosh, that was 2015, I guess. And it wasn't long after.
You go in a different way now, and they built a whole museum facility out by the railroad tracks there, and they got very strict on things out there, very, very strict. Even to go out there and do wedding photography, you have to pay.
Jeez.
Yeah. So it changed.
Do they still let you just do your own walking tour out there?
Yeah, you can do your own walking tour out there.
Because that's what I did. I would sneak some, spirit, my camera and stuff in there. And
yeah, you can do that now. They will watch you like a hawk. I tell you, it's interesting. So it's not near as friendly, and I guess I don't even know. I don't even think they do the Halloween thing out there anymore.
I don't think they do. I haven't heard of it. I mean, before the pandemic, I don't think.
Whoever took that over, I knew the lady out there that was handling events, and I don't know if she left or got fired or what.
Sounds like an asshole took over. That's what it sounds
well, there's other places like that around Calera. Have you been to the train museum in Calera?
I don't think so. I don't think we've been out there to that yet.
I've done a video out there, and old trains, a very interesting place. And the guy that runs that is one of these stiff-necked old whatevers. He wouldn't even do an interview or anything. So you run across all kind of, things change. Sloss Furnace would never be what it used to be. It's not wide open. They cleaned it up. It's not even dusty anymore.
Yeah.
So it's just I don't know. It's a historical thing and not fun anymore. Is all I can say. But like you said, you could sneak out there if you're not doing any people photography.
Yeah.
They'll leave you alone. I don't know if they'll say anything if you had a spirit box or not. So that's something you have to experiment with. It is now 8:58 in the p.m. We've got 2 minutes left. My name is Kelsey, and that is Kevin. He is myhauntedDolls.com.
Yes, right there. .com.
And
That's the bumper sticker you can buy on the website there.
That's it. How much do you get for those?
What was this? $5?
$5. I need to get some of those for Abnormal, Alabama. Huh?
Yeah, I got one of these on my car. I know that.
Yeah. So we do this every Saturday.
Tuesday.
Told you I'm tired. I don't even. I can't even tell you why we chose Tuesday night, but it worked out pretty good. We've kept it on Tuesday nights ever since, and because it's archived everywhere we post it, you can go back and find it, so you don't have to watch it live. But guys, Crazy Girl, and also Billy Bird that fell asleep. Do us a favor when you're watching the show, share it on your social media. You know,
Yeah.
get it and share the YouTube wherever you're watching it, and just post it on your whether it's Instagram or wherever. Share it, but Facebook, it doesn't matter. Help us get the word out.
Yes.
That'd be a big, big thing. Remember the wishdr.com. If you want to see your wishes come true, read the reviews on there and learn about the Trinity machine, the vampire machine. Do you need energy? You can get energy. And also a very basic wishing machine is sold there too. If you want to talk about dating the dead, go to datingthedead.com. If you want haunted dolls and books and books and books, myhauntedDolls.com. So that's it, folks. We're going to say good night, buena noche, and we'll see you in 1 week from tonight. Peace and love.